Okay, back to GBOH. Here we are at Gela. And this is 1 year after Akragos, which we did. And the leader at Akragos is gone. He's been shamed by that. I'm trying to remember. You know, I forgot to do him. Daphneus had this pep talk thing here. Anyway, he's gone. Dionysus, who was one of his commanders in that battle, is now the tyrant, and he is an elite commander here. Which means we have to look up the rules on elite commanders. It allows him to trigger an initial action in each turn. Kinda out of order. And it doesn't have to be him. So, what do we got here? Anything? I guess the exciting thing is we have this little amphibious attack with some archers and peltasts coming in this way, trying to degrade a defensive position. Again, the Carthaginians didn't really build much of a wall. It's the same kind of limitation as before. Costs an extra movement point, and chariots aren't crossing it. And it gives some defensive, gives a point of temporary tactical quality to the units that are behind it for combat purposes. I don't know what happens to them though. Like, that's not well explained, I don't think so. Some special rules other than that. So Dionysus has surprise here with this landing. He can pick any unit, any of his commanders, and send him activated first in any order. However, we do have a pile of units here in column. And part of the reason the surprise happens is because we haven't fully deployed, so Carthage wasn't expecting to be attacked. Point-wise, Carthage has 105 tactical quality points before they fall. Syracuse has 100. And that's about it. Our Dionysus has packed his command with his own relatives. He's got I don't know, like his father's on here, I think an uncle's here, or whatever. Alright, Leptemy is here, who's in the graveyard. He started things off with the attack over here. In some cases it was pretty impressive, like these peltasts hitting heavy infantry from the rear, but those units in the rear were able to protect the light infantry so that they all were able to turn and actually face and fight. Yeah, a skirmisher went too. I guess the biggest thing was this guy dying, which isn't terribly likely. It's a 1 in 100 chance, basically, at least the auto death that I got. The shots on the back of this didn't do anything, and I wasn't close enough to be able to actually attack it. That would be worth some serious points if I could hit it. Because remember, those don't rally. So, assuming, and this is a big assumption, that that I don't use the elite leadership for this next turn, the command comes over here. I don't know that there's anything I terribly would want to do that I want to trigger an earlier attack with. I've disrupted this side, and this is where I'm closest and could actually attack through. I don't think that's going to line up and get any tremendous advantage off that barrier. I'm not sure though, I have to think. It's not clear in this scenario as how the elite commander, who can hand out on the first turn of the game an elite initiative to any command, and I'm going to use the restriction on that of the 8 or 9 that reduces it a little bit. There's a chance that you won't get that possibility. Normally you can only hand it out within your command radius, but on the first turn of the game the elite commander can always preset one, but that kind of conflicts with what happened over here with the surprise attack, which was a full activation before anything else. I'm going to allow the elite commander mainly because I think Syracuse needs all the help they can get. They've not been doing well so far. This is a scenario that they historically did not win, though, I think. So maybe I shouldn't cheat for them too much, huh? Yeah, they were just overwhelmed by the number. Even though the Carthaginian army isn't that much bigger, it's got a lot of advantages. I'm going to give them a shot to try to make things a little bit more equal. There's an advantage to doing it, which is that I still get my full normal activation. Plus I get to assail these ramparts early and maybe get across them. After a couple of charges, there was a momentum here. Managed to get a second line command. And we've driven away the skirmishers, but to whatever good that is. Yeah, some points here. They're 2 points each. Oh, no, they're 1 point each, aren't they? Oops. Okay. I believe. And now this big hoplite group, phalanx line, is a little bit fragmented and ready for all the infantry to strike it. Between the javelins, which aren't going to be as effective as usual because this is heavy infantry facing forward, but also just the fact that the lights, etc., are going to get to hit the units in... They're going to get to make the first strike, which I've discussed this as being important before. So light infantry hitting heavy infantry results in no superiority, whereas heavy hitting the light is an attacker superior. In addition, I think the shock results come out a little bit better too. So light hitting heavy is a 5. Heavy hitting light is a 9. That's about the same. It's about equivalent. But the biggie is the superiority issue. And we do not want those to hit us. That would be bad. We want to break up their formation as much as we can. Just counterattack over here. Does some serious damage, routes a couple of these units. But in terms of points, they're the ones taking the hit so far. There's 24 points scored up because, well, they tried to rally some units that they knocked out of commission. But realize that this is sitting on 20 more points for Syracuse. So it's not like Carthage. Those automatically go. They're not, you know, they're not going to... Ow, 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 ow. I should not have rallied this. Oh well. I shouldn't have made it an attempt even. It's a hoplite unit. I don't remember precisely where it was. It did a route through of units and was sitting someplace stupid. Oh well. Syracuse pushed its heavy cav, a little hard running, changing to the wedges so that they can attack. Didn't get a... Well, we actually got full recovery, so we actually... or full momentums, so we actually were able to recover the front line of that, but the back line needs to spend an activation on recovering. The leader doesn't have enough points. He can move the thing as a line command, but he couldn't recover the units. And I think I've been being loose on the line commands. I don't think I rolled for him. I'm also not sure whether that first turn automatic line command precludes you from rolling, but I'm not thinking about that too much. This guy launched an attack across here, not using a line, just and smacked around some of these hoplite units. They're very fragile compared to... There's just so much wrong with them. I mean, they're hard to maneuver. These are low qualities, so that they really just don't have the staying power of the top class, top-notch units from, say, the hoplite game. And there's not a lot going for them. They're not like the phalanxes with all the bonuses, which we'll see in a little bit. Although they do have the bonus of being able to stand a little harder than some units are. I don't remember if that was present in SPQR. I vaguely think it was. And then he got a momentum, so that got trumped by Dionysus or whatever, who is starting to deploy. Now his units are getting kind of fatigued because he rushed them as well. But he needs to throw something into the line and get another chance of attacking to try to break Carthage's hold along here. I don't know. And that's going to throw things back to Carthage. These guys have no momentum on them because they got over-trumped. So does this guy, but he only had one possible momentum available. Remember where I was. I did a lot all at once. Another advance over here. This guy didn't have a possibility of a continuation, but he hit these, didn't do terribly well. The light cav struck the heavy cav, took their charge bonuses off them, so they're not going to get any kind of superiority there. It's not a good situation for them, but we have the javelins to throw. By the way, I screwed up. I've been giving a penalty to the javelin throws at the hoplites. That actually shouldn't be the case. I forgot. Remembering all the modifiers is difficult, and I'm at the point in the game, you know, in terms of knowing the game well enough that I can kind of pretend that I know them, but so I don't look them up all that much, and you know, mistakes will happen. Again, though, not a big deal. It's not a game of exactness. Hyro here came down and tried to rally using his second activation. Remember, he used the first one for the elite, well, no, for the surprise shot. Here he's using the elite bonus, and so he has a second one, but he's been trumped, so he can't use a third one. And he came down and helped the forces that had landed. These guys came by boat and struck. That's why the surprise was happening. It is a situation that right now the Carthage looks like it's winning. We're about halfway through the Syracuse's value. They've got 52 hits out of 100. And these units, you know, go fast, right? They have a lot of staying power in the line of battle, but once they break, they're gone. There's no chance of bringing them back. On the other hand, some more points for Carthage went. One of these kind of nice heavy infantry. I didn't get a chance to rally it, which is a shame. I hope I get to rally the other one, because those are nice units. Those are heavies, aren't they? Yeah. I don't know how nice they are. If they were mediums with that 7, I'd like them a lot more. I really like the medium infantry and how it works facing the regular hoplites. I don't know that well, these have a 5 movement range speed, so they're not bad. They're going to be able. If I had more of them, I'd be happier actually. But I got a lot of these lights that are pretty good quality too. These are just Carthaginian mercenaries, and they're doing a good job. Chariots, second line of defense. Planning on launching them if need be. I've got to try to protect the flank of this force so that I can get some more hits in on the hoplites and try to rack up the points that way. That's really all that's happening. It's weird because the Carthaginian army doesn't feel terribly good in terms of, you know, it's not these big ponderous units that are able to slam into stuff and do a lot. But it's been consistently beating the Syracusean hoplite army, so I have a fair amount of respect for it. Just making sure I got everything flipped over properly. As I trigger the elite initiative, using it over here, chasing away one of these javelineers. Actually, I was mistaken about being mistaken. If I look here, there's 2 different modifiers. One is if the defender is HI or PH, you add 1 to the die roll, except against Indian archers. And the other is HI or PH and a slinger or archers firing at 1 hex, not javelin. So there's a second modifier in place about that. I'm not sure I took that into account, but I think I was just giving the single bonus for the heavy infantry being hit. Hard to remember. Anyway, we'll push on, and we got this front here. I don't know particularly why I'm not right in the front line at this point, although it will allow me to recover this unit, maybe charge with this or something. I'm pretty close to over. Striking with these hoplites, we got 3 more routing. That's 30 more points. That brings us to 82. You know, 2 more of those hoplites and it's over. Well, it's likely to happen, but otherwise there's other things that you know, could go. It was really a big hurt though to lose a leader right at the beginning of the game. And that's 20 points right there. That's as big as one of the hoplite formations. So this would be actually a pretty close game. Otherwise, a 1-point game. Okay, this guy over here rallied some of his troops, launched an attack, got a die roll of doom then, and the attack drove away another one of these. We're over the limit for Syracuse. There's some possibility Carthage might go over the limit too, so I'm still continuing to play. Not much, but it's not inconceivable. And in that idea, the die roll of doom ended up triggering an extra movement for him. We had some attacks, and wow, I found out that these cav here are actually light cav, which I didn't think they were. Had them covered up with my cav charge markers because I thought I had a big formation of heavy cav. Nah, it was a mixed formation, heavy cav in front, light in the back. One of the light cav accidentally went and charged the Carthaginian knights, right? Nobles, yeah. It didn't do too badly, to tell you the truth. It didn't do well, but whatever. And meanwhile, the Syracuse hoplites continue pushing forward, and you know, they routed another unit, which is fine. We're it's a big uphill battle though. Right now Carthage is at 39. That means they need like 60 more points lost. They just don't have a lot of routed units on the board, but they do have what, 12? I mean, they're valuable units. 19. That's not going to make it unless it gets hit somehow, which doesn't look likely. So yeah, we're looking at like maybe 20 points of units that are currently leaving the board if nobody rallies them. And that's kind of the problem, is that Carthage can just rally their units, whereas Syracuse can't. Those hoplite units, once they break, they're gone. Units like this are pretty potent though, because they're much less likely to end up actually routing. I'm looking at these cav here and trying to figure out what the hell to do with them. They're my next command that I need to activate. I start looking at, well, some light cav against chariots. Wow, they suck hitting chariots head on. What about chariots against cav? Well, pretty good actually. Even against heavy cav, I'm over on the 11 column. Now these chariots are iffy. They have low tactical quality, so they break easily. But they can do a lot of damage to the cav, and I'm somewhat disturbed that they're put behind the cav. They might be the coup de grace, but these guys are really kind of cluttering up the Carthaginian capability to attack, and our cav is exposed to the enemy cav, which it's actually more vulnerable to. I think in SPQR the chariots are a little less effective than that. Definitely aren't SPQR chariots. First of all, they're combat superior against the cav, among other things. But they're also pretty good against everything. As long as they're hitting it, you know, as long as they're the ones doing the attacking. Not something I realized. Now, they had their special pass-through attacks and stuff like that still, too. But, yeah, in SPQR, you put the cav up against the same phalanx type units that you have in this game, and they really are the same because the period isn't that different, and they don't hold up very well. But in this one, they're much closer to what they are over in Chariots of Fire up there, in terms of capable of kind of maybe not dominating the battlefield, but doing something impressive. Maybe not. Currently I'm launching an attack of chariots against one of these hoplites. Now, these guys, I've been shifting back and forth on this because there's a picture here, but it's pretty obvious. This is a separate rule from the sacred band that comes up here, which is what I one point thought. All HI and HO and LP units have pass-through avoidance here in this tyrant scenario. Again, because this is, I don't know why, I guess a later period where people are more used to how to fight the chariots even than they were. Now that pass-through avoidance, what that means is prior to resolving shock, I can make a TQ a check. If that die roll succeeds, then I can part rank and let the chariots pass through. And I think that's all the chariots, not one unit at a time. And I take a cohesion hit for that, which is a pretty light cost considering. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, we're going to be able to let them through. So not so impressive. But if they do shock into there, wow, they're going to hurt it. I forgot the cost, though, for this beforehand. These guys have to TQ check, as does the phalanx, or hoplites, whatever. 5. He's down 2. Yeah, this is the problem, is that they all rout. They have such low quality that they're going to fly. And then the last one in the thing. Ooh. Okay, this is routing. Yeah, because not everything's routing. And this thing, I think, just routed as well. 4, it took 3, it's 7, but it gets its saving throw. +1, now it's going as well. Syracuse managed a massive push here under Dionysus. 3 actions, pushing the hoplites and even the peltas and such not to multiple attacks per turn, finding routed units, knocking them out. We ran the score up to 88 points because of those big value 7-point units that were there, being able to smack them in the back and stuff. But I really had to break through with a leader like this to be able to do that, and the units. So this front more or less, or this flank more or less collapsed for the Carthage. I don't think it's enough. I get a lot of points banked on these. I'll score what we have and route the few units that are still going off the... I mean, that's one of the things. We're not even over 100 yet, and this is clearly well over 100. But whatever. I missed one. I didn't bother moving the routed Syracuse units out of the way. That's another 12 points. So they scored up to 154. Pretty much all of, well, not quite, a lot of the hoplites gone, but they got the Carthaginians up to 122, which is pretty impressive. I mean, that was pretty much all this operation down here. But again, we see those more flexible, better quality units can beat the hoplites. When you look at the hoplite game itself, well, the Persians don't have the kind of quality that the Greeks have here. They don't have those 7-point units all over the place as a big proportion of their force. So they're a little trickier to handle, but I'm finding this slanted against the hoplite Greek army. Again, though, you know, you never know, from my standpoint, at least, whether or not I get... Well, first of all, I might be screwing up a roll, but secondly, whether or not I get the tactics well enough. You know, whether I'm screwing something up in terms of there's something better I can do with the hoplites. Because this was sort of shocking. But these weren't hoplites doing it. It was peltists running around, jumping behind, hitting the backs of other light units and finishing off already damaged units. Just collecting up the score that I had accrued but hadn't, you know, completely scored yet. Is pretty much how I see it. Alright, we'll send this up and we'll be playing something other than GBOH next.